Hey everybody, it's Mystic Hierophant here, again with another video. Working on my intro, so I'm just looking at some notes here. If you saw my reel on Instagram, you're here for the extended version of that reading. I'll put the link to that reel in the description below. And if you're here for the first time, if you're here again from the previous video, make sure to like, subscribe. If you're just passing through, just enjoy the video and take what, as they say, resonates with you, what matches with you. And if something doesn't make sense, just let it breathe, and maybe it's not meant for you, or maybe it'll be clarified later on. And that's exactly what I'm going to get into right now with the patience card. The patience reading from the reel. And right now, what I've been struggling with, or I've been challenged with, as may have you, the patience, or I call it the game of patience. I talked a little bit about this in the last video about time and the contradiction of time, about if you're surrendering to higher powers or unseen forces, which is another challenge in itself when you're around everyone, or the majority of people who have been trained since childhood to do everything by their own will, instead of through the divine will. When you talk about surrendering, or just not, I don't want to say waiting, because that has its own kind of weight to it as well. It can be heavily criticized, but just as we say in the military, or on film sets, or in the theatrical world, stand by, meaning just wait for further direction. When you talk about that in society, you'll get criticized, or you'll get sideways looks at you. And that's to say, people will be confused by what you're talking about, or even ridicule you, as far as you being lazy and not taking initiative or action. And that's the challenge that we deal with right now, is in a world that's so heavily motivated by doing it myself, or just getting it done, or we have that video circulated right now on Instagram, doing the work. And we're not talking about that spiritual work, which is what we're missing, but we're talking about doing that external work. When we're talking about a world that's heavily weighed down by responsibility after responsibility after responsibility. Some we've gotten ourselves into, some we've picked up from the environment we were raised in. Family responsibilities, generational responsibilities. We lose sight of what really matters. There is no room for patience in that world, in that mode of thinking. So when you talk about patience, and when you're following this path and allowing the unseen forces, the higher forces, to guide you and give you direction, it's very hard to get further advice from any type of peers out there. So I want to do this reading for those of you out there who are being asked to stand by, who are being hit with this lesson of patience. And it is a lesson in its own self, when you cannot do something yourself, as in Spirit doesn't want you to use your own will. They'll quickly cut that out and say, you know what, you need to stand by right now. And as you're getting frustrated and more irritated by this, maybe the heavier the silence is, and that can be frustrating itself, until we learn to go into our meditation. Hopefully you see that, I don't know, put that right there. And figure out what it is that we need to do. And sometimes the answer is, I don't want you to do anything, I just want you to stand by. And that could be for some, and others it could be, go clean. You get the urge or the initiative to go clean. Maybe you do it automatically. And this is Spirit guiding you, or your higher self guiding you. Now, why are we being asked to be patient? Some of us have had things torn down, destroyed, especially with what's going on in the world. Illusions have been exposed. or illusions have grown greater depending on who you're around, or where you're working or not working anymore. As you see this happening, there is a blessing in disguise. This is about you attaining to what matters the most, to whatever it is that you are working on attaining to, or what you are awaiting to be magnetized towards you, this Queen of Cups energy. There is a sense of cherishment. There is a sense of something that's holy and sacred about something that is how to say, is waiting to be given to you. But this is a lesson. I just want to be honest. This is a lesson in the higher initiation. This is not something that is for anybody who's dabbling in, trying to purify trauma, clear out negative energies, clear out premeditated thinking or thinking or beliefs that's been thrusted on them. When you're working on shedding those aspects, what we're going into right now, this I want to say game of patience, this, let's say, strategy of patience, is a higher level of kind of you being elevated to a higher state of consciousness, higher state of faith and trust. And some of you have been getting hit with a lot of being faith, trust, patience. Some of you have executed that for years, and it could make you even more irritated that you're getting just this: more faith, more trust, more patience being asked of you. I know I get irritated when I go to my meditation and prayer, and that's all I'm receiving. You might say, haven't I shown that enough? Haven't I always followed my higher guidance of what I feel was right, what I felt was the righteous thing to do? Why am I being asked to be more patient? Haven't I worked enough? Haven't I shown enough trust that whatever it is you're working on attaining can be given to you? Know that the Four of Wands is here. It's there. That yellow background. I want to say hope. But I also want to say, in a sense, that hope is being adjusted in you. There is a sense of, sometimes I get irritated by faith, but I am lingering more towards just saying faith instead of hope, because for me, I feel like a sense of hope is clinging on. Now, that may be your word, and maybe you feel like faith is clinging on, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have an issue with it. But for me, I feel like the hope aspect is there's a subtle aspect of clinging on and hanging on to it. Rather, I would say in faith and trust, you just know what's going to happen, and then you just let that be. Now, when we're talking about just letting it go and having faith and trust, that's easier said than done. I think we both, or anybody here watching this, can attain to that. It can understand that some of the trigger words that I have that I'm working through are move on and letting it go. And it's because I've been hurt in the past by partners or opportunities that just I've worked very hard for, and they just crumbled for a number of reasons. I feel like I handled it the best way I could, really in the wisest way I could with the knowledge I had at that time. But when you talk about just showing faith and trust, you still are being hit with those, I want to say, those denser energies. Like today, partly from what I've been dealing with in astrological energies, I woke up with just severe irritation. I was just completely irritated with, some past events, current events, and this may happen to you. Or you may be irritated because you are in a peaceful mode, and then somebody all of a sudden comes in the office or comes into your place, your space, and just says something right off that just kind of irritates you. Now, when we talk about faith and trust, we're still hit with those energies, the trigger energies, the trauma, the anxiety, the impatience, which is the anxiety. And we have here the High Priestess here. It's not easy. This is a card of, well, there's so much here. But for me right now, this is a card of balance. This is a card of one who's shown that he, that masculine feminine energy has progressed to that final initiation. They are seated with the holy aspects before them. We've got the polarities of Joachim and Boaz. We've got an aspect of Catholicism, Christianity here, maybe the Western religions, the Western mysteries. There's gnosis all in this. And this is a theme of the High Priestess that threads throughout at least the Rider-Waite, with that blue, that water, that flowing. We've got the heavy feminine energy. We've got that crescent moon. We've got that lunar aspect. Also, I want to talk about the lunar aspect. We talk about the tarot here. There is what's being hit right now is the ego. What's being hit right now in this kind of, as we call it, I say the game of patience, or the strategy of patience, is the ego itself. The ego wanting to hold on, wanting to know what's happening, wanting to grasp when it's going to happen, wanting to have that foreshadow, especially if you're really in tune with the feminine aspects of you, that intuitive receiving side. You're used to kind of maybe intuiting what's going on. And a lot of times I've kind of gotten more out of this stage, but before, when I was going through the heavy trauma, the heavy destruction, and the heavy irritation, trying to endure, and I did, and still enduring now, but you yourself may have endured through a very traumatic experience, especially closing out the end of last year, going to this new year, or maybe even right now, or the prior months, where you've been fighting a higher sense of being, and then just your regular ego, and trying to balance that out. And you dealing with, okay, I don't think I deserve this treatment. I don't think I deserve this punishment. And you maybe wanting to get mad. And then there's also an aspect of you saying, well, I have a right to be upset. And just that struggle, and or maybe you just kind of got upset full on, and then later on just said, I could have done better than that. But right now, this patience is testing not only you, but the ego as well. And it's in a sense, I want to say flat out, it's destroying certain things in the ego. When you're elevating, like I said, this is a higher form of initiation. When you're elevating higher and higher and higher, you need to carry less and less and less of what is within you, what is on you, what is within you. When you're climbing up a mountain, you can only bring what you need, or else you will be weighed down. It's not wise to bring unnecessary things on a long hike, on a long climb. You only bring what is necessary. And when we're elevating in this sense, we're only bringing what is necessary. And then when we go up, what was necessary needs to be taken down, taken away, to prepare for the next stage. And right now, for me and for you who are listening, there's a more subtle aspect that's being adjusted and calibrated. And I do firmly believe that's the ego right now, of what, i.e. the logical, intellectual, reasoning side, that does want an answer, does want an explanation, does want a resolution. And that will come, but it's not going to come when you want it to. And this is this game of enduring patience. There's a saying in a Tibetan prayer where I think it's some aspects of the bodhisattvas, or bodhicitta, which is one of the aspects is enduring patience. And when I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, that's exhausting already. Enduring patience. It's like, geez. Well, I always get the analogy and the sign of a marathon. And if you ran a marathon, if you train for a marathon, or even you just look at a marathon, you just sometimes can get exhausted with the whole process. It's a long race. And pacing is very, very important. And when we're talking about the ego, we the ego, in a sense, sometimes does not like to be hit with patience, especially depending on how you're raised, who you were raised around. If you're in a high, busy, highly populated area, let's say you could be, L.A. like where I'm at, or New York, or Chicago, or pick any London, where everybody's moving. There's always something. And these energies do hang on to you in more ways than one. And you have to, if you're highly sensitive, you have to, it's best that you clear these out, that you go to areas where it's quiet, a trip, a retreat, and clear out those energies. I want to move to the Magician in reverse here. And, we talked about that Four Wands energy there in the distance. It's there. A lot of us aren't going to get the resolution as when it's going to come. It's just wait, be patient, especially with all the energies that are happening right now. And the Magician, I think in reverse, is saying there's more work to be done on ourselves and on our manifestations, on what we're materializing. Now, again, that's easier said than done when you've been waiting, you've been doing what you can, you've been picking up a second job or third job, you've left a job, and now you're, especially with world events happening, you're tired. You're completely exhausted and tired, and the world out there is not making it easier on you. And I completely understand that. But what I do think the Magician here is saying, it's more of, one, I say, taking a break. This is almost, in a sense, going back to your drawing table. Not to say that you have to start all over again. Some of us have had things destroyed where we feel like we definitely have to start all over again. But this is, I think, is being called for you to go to focus on you. We want to focus on you. I know you're getting irritated with everything. I know things have been, you've been challenged all around. And you've been doing a lot of the inner work, and a lot of people around you just seem like they don't even care. And you feel lost in a sense. And I just read a quote, you've heard it before, where it's like, not all who wander are lost. And honestly, I've been feeling like that, when everybody tries to have something going on or pretends like they have something going on, or if, you're not doing like a full-time job, or if you don't have a career or something yet, that you're not doing anything, that you're in a sense useless. I mean, you look at the areas in big cities where, just look at how they treat the homeless. In bigger cities, even smaller cities, the homeless situation is growing. It's not just in the big cities anymore. I was in Oregon, and there's parts of Oregon, I love Oregon, but there are parts of Oregon where I feel like, oh, this is just like LA. I was surprised. Now, you could say what you want about the homeless, but a lot of the homeless are veterans. They're retirees who had just enough to live off their pension. And depending on where you are, the housing market turned over, came in. All of a sudden, landlords just allowed themselves to be bought out. And they gave 30-day notices to their tenants who've been there for years and say, you have to move. I don't know, you got to leave. A lot of them just bought campers. A lot of them didn't want to deal with it. A lot of them had their own issues already, health issues, and just say, you know what, I'm just going to cut my loss and just live in my van. And not all of them are drug addicts or quote unquote losers. A lot of them have their own severe trauma that they've had to deal with, or they ran away from. A lot of the homeless people I've met are some of the nicest people, honestly. They're so used to getting, crapped on by people. I honestly am surprised that some of them are still generous enough to say thank you. And if I say I don't have any money, they'll say thank you anyway. And how many of us honestly can say that about just people who are not homeless? And that's a big lesson in itself. So with the Magician card here, again, the yellow, we talked about hope, but the yellow, I feel like the yellow is a form of regeneration, rejuvenation, revitalization. It's magical in itself. And, we have. I keep looking at this floral aspect. I'll turn it right side up, and you see that there's the flowers. It's different colors, but I get a sense that's that spring energy coming in. And a lot of times, if you're empathic, when you get this, you get the sign that something's on the horizon, you think, oh, it's gonna happen right now. It's gonna happen like tomorrow, and sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes you're just getting just a blessing, and you're getting a hint that something's down the line. But in our mind, our finite mind, we're thinking it's going to happen instantly. And again, that's the waiting game. That's the patience game. That it's going to happen soon. We're just blessing you with the fact that, since you have certain gateways open, you are getting the sense that something's happening. But then the ego attaches onto it and says, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen right now. And that's what is being worked on and chipped away at. When you get higher into, and I'm not there yet, but from my readings and studying with saints and highly attained, liberated masters, that sense of time goes away. That sense of clinging on, hanging on, goes away. There is, I do think, a game, a strategy, and it's all attached to our minds. And this universal mind that we all share, a universal soul that we all share, where we say it a lot, especially now, we're in this together, we're all connected. I do think there needs to be more reflection on that. A lot of us you've experienced when you just really, from the heart, you say, you know what, I don't care about this anymore, I'm just gonna let it go. I've done everything I can, and I let it go. That's usually when something happens. I listened to an interview with, I think, Annie Murphy. She's an actress in a show called Schitt's Creek. That's the name of the show. If you see it, you know it. It was a wealthy family. They go to dumps. I think they had a video business, but don't quote me on that. But Annie Murphy, she plays Alex Rose. There's some great memes and jokes about Rose Apothecary, but you have to see the show. But Annie Murphy, the actress, was talking about how the show Schitt's Creek changed her life. And she literally was at the precipice of just not acting anymore. She said, I was in a few roles that you couldn't even remember that I was in. And she actually lost her apartment. It burnt down. And she was like, this is it. I've everything you think could happen to me has happened. And rising up out of that, again, certain things for each and every one of us, things get destroyed. I think it's karmically, astrologically, and it regards maybe the lessons of that we're trying to attain to and overcome. And when we're here, when she was, on the precipice of giving up, but just trying to get some sense of survival, back up again for herself, she got an audition, and it happened to be for Schitt's Creek. And she said, in her own words, it changed her life. Because she was literally on the verge of just, that's it. That's it. Why does it happen like that? Why does it have to happen like that? I've had situations where I really feel like I tried everything. And I was like, well, that's it. I literally don't know what else to do. And a lot of times, a high percentage of the time, that's when the miracle comes through. Now, a lot of us do things, are blessed, they just do it and it happens. But a lot of us, that big thing we want, that we strive for so much, that seems kind of unattainable. The harder we try, it just seems like it just repelled more and more away from you. And finally, when you reach that point where you hit your last stride and allow, you gas out. You're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And you just fall out and you just hit the bench. That's when that miracle comes through. That pick me up comes through. One, I think that's to show that there is a higher force happening, to give you that realization. Two, there's that mind energy, that magnetization, that polarity. We're talking about the polarity here, the High Priestess, Joaquin and Boaz, where you hit this neutral mode, which is not trying anything. Again, that's not saying you're lazy. That's just saying I surrender, which is a whole nother lesson. It's what the magician, the magi, the sage is what it really means. The one who carries great wisdom has to learn. A lot of times through trial and error, tribulations, sacrifices, destruction, has to learn to let go, has to learn to surrender to the higher powers and energies. This is not a lesson that we learn in school. A lot of it is not our fault. You don't learn about marriage, you don't learn about relationships, you don't learn about sacrifices, you don't learn about surrendering. You learn about a whole bunch of erudite subjects. Most of us, we're not even going to carry on once we graduate high school. We're force-fed this, and meanwhile, what matters the most is when we actually are in the school of life, or when you're a kid, when you're dealing with this a divorce from parents, or an abusive relationship with your parents, or God knows what. You're not going to be learning that in school. To a certain degree now, it's opening up. But for many of us, we didn't get that way because we had to learn the hard way. We had to learn through trial and error. We had to learn more about ourselves through a relationship that ended, through an abusive relationship, unfortunately, etc., etc., etc. So again, look, not all is lost. I don't want to be, doomsday. That's not what I'm trying to be. But I do want to give the message out that what you're going through is a very, very high initiation that you guys should be proud of yourselves in enduring. He's a son of one of the pharaohs, I think Khafra or Djoser. His name is Horjadef, and he was a high priest in, I think, the 4th or 5th dynasty, the Old Kingdom. And I looked at Horjadef. It was coming to me because what's Horjadef? What does that name mean? It means enduring like Horus. There's another name, Regidef, I think, which is enduring like Ra. This is a high level of perseverance and endurance that has a lot of weight to the name. So this is not somebody who is just a run-of-the-mill kind of, I just, do this, do that. This somebody has shown mastership, has shown that they are able to be the high priest of a highly spiritual kingdom, of people, of the sacred text, of the lineage of wisdom. And that's what you guys are right now. You guys are going through this school. You guys are not in the first or second year in college. This is a master's, I would say more of a PhD type level of initiation that you guys are going through. It's not easy to almost feel like the divine hand is slapping you upside the head, but it's actually chipping away that ego. Not because they're mad at you, because this is something that is not noticed through majority of the world, that is carried within them. That's not taught to you to surrender, to wait, to stand by. Because what happens is the lower energies start to creep up about, I want it now, I want an answer, I deserve this, I deserve that. And in most cases, yes, it's right to, you can feel that you have shown endurance and patience enough. But this is not just about you, this is about something that needs to be cleansed within you. I don't think we're dirty, I just think it's something that has been, in a sense, polluted from childhood onwards. What's being projected on us constantly as we're growing up, constantly. This is why the analogy of being more like a child is emphasized in, let's say, the Holy Scriptures. That age in a child where they were kind of uninhibited by limitations. Yes, they don't necessarily know, okay, you're 4 years old, you don't want to walk directly in the ocean. That's why the parents are there. But what happens is that as they grow older, unnecessary traumas and beliefs are thrown and tossed on you that aren't really helping you at all. And this process is what is being cleansed right now. So again, whenever you can, this is what's most important right now for me, is going into that Two of Swords energy. And this is about that meditation. And for me right now, honestly, there have been some anxieties and traumas that have come up where I literally can't meditate, and it's abnormal for me. So what I've had to do is just, dance. I've had to do my yoga, physical exercises, walk. Sometimes you just need to be social and go out with trusted friends and talk, or just get that excess energy out. And it takes time. It could take weeks, it could take months. I know some people don't want to hear that, but it doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It doesn't mean accomplishments and attainments aren't happening. It's just that it's a process. It's all kind of happening at once. It's coming back, going forward. This is being cleansed. This is being gained. This is being taken away. It's there's a lot of shifting and moving parts happening. But what you do want to do is get to your centered and neutral space. And I think when you're doing that, you're going into that magician's energy. You are working on your manifestations, clearing out the quote-unquote negative energy, that lower vibrational energy. And yeah, that's it. I don't want to drag it on. I hope this is helpful for you. Leave some comments, your thoughts, maybe other things you guys have been dealing with, and I can flesh it out. I can do a general reading. Love to know what you guys are being challenged with. What you guys are being victorious in, rising above, as I say. Again, the Queen of Cups energy is there. So is the Four of Wands. So it's just, letting it happen and letting it go. We have to let it go, or else, like I have, maybe you have, you just kind of drive yourself crazy, bang your head against the wall with trying to find out the answer. All right, so just release. Just know that you need to be okay and be at peace with you have done the best you can with the knowledge you have, and breathe. And when those energies come up with frustration, anxiety, move, get it out, go into meditation, do whatever it is you need to eradicate those energies. Especially with, how a lot of people are and how they handle stress and changes, it may not be beneficial for you. So sometimes you need to retract, go into your sacred space, or go out and go into your sacred space, or share, certain challenges with a trusted friend or friends. Okay? All right, guys. Have a great day, great morning, great night, whenever you're watching this. And again, hit the like, subscribe button. See you guys in the next video. Okay, peace.